Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our ISG HR Market Pulse. Julie, Stacy, and I are back for our last Market Pulse of the year. And as we close out 2020, we thought we would just share some of our thoughts around priorities and predictions for 2021. So I'll start us off with something I've been thinking about around digital adoption. So, 2020 has certainly been an interesting year where we've been forced to adapt and adopt, right? And if anything, it has shown us that people can really uptake drastic technology shifts pretty quickly. We basically saw a dramatic digital transformation for the workforce and for a lot of companies. Folks are adopting, new platforms, adopting Teams, using video call functionality. Some of those things have just become the norm, and companies and employees have been able to adopt to those pretty quickly. I'm certainly not suggesting we want to continue to live in the environment of 2020, but I do think there are some lessons we can take from that, that we should sort of examine that and see, as we think about technology transformation and process transformation in the future. Maybe there are some things we can learn from 2020 that we can apply to our tech and transformation rollouts, to figure out how do we create some of that same sense of urgency or unity when it comes to adopting new technology or new processes in order to make our future implementations and initiatives more successful on that front. So I think there's some interesting things about adoption and behaviors that we've seen that may influence how we approach it going forward for the better. So that was one of the things that I had in mind. How about you, Stacy? What are some of your top thoughts here?
Yeah, I think, looking out to 2021, I do think, building the organization of the future has emerged as a top priority. So specifically, areas such as, do we have the right skills and ability to support our rapidly changing businesses? In terms of skills, we're seeing clients looking at different talent technologies. So aspects around internal mobility and reskilling has come more front and center, as well as clients looking more broadly at kind of the workforce planning and analytics strategies and how to build capabilities. Many organizations, I think today, just aren't sure necessarily how to identify, the gaps that they have, and they're struggling to develop different skills in their workforce quickly enough to meet, the demands. So, whether it's been, having to cross-train, colleagues that we've seen over the last kind of 6 to 9 months to make sure they've got the right coverage, take on new responsibilities or maybe support some new technologies, just the skills are changing so quickly, and what organizations needed a year or two ago, or even, 6 to 9 months ago, is different than what they're going to need a year from now and 2 years from now. So, just given how quickly, the environment is changing, it really emphasizes the need for organizations to, create the right flexibility to be able to respond to the changing business and really help, make sure that they do have the right skill sets and can deploy that quickly to be able to help grow the business and innovate and execute on their transformations. Certainly in 2020, business transformation, as you mentioned, Kelly, it was a big priority, and I think will continue to be so in 2021. So a lot of those trends around, remote working and how best to support our employees and the changing business models, and just the changing workforce, those are all key aspects of that. And, employee experience is another piece that's, still a huge focus right now, from, of course, the standpoint of just how do we make sure that we give, our employees and our workforce the right, productivity, the right, tools and skills, but how do we also make sure that we keep them engaged and connected with our workforce during this challenging time? So making sure that, consistently measuring employee feedback, understand what's going well, where, organizations need to improve, making sure that they're addressing, those challenges with the employees around some of the burnout. You mentioned everyone's, kind of adapting well to the tools, but at the same time, I think a lot of us are also having sort of the Zoom burnout and, and other aspects, just given the volume of meetings that are going on. So, how do we help, keep the workforce engaged, help managers be, better managers, and make sure that, we can also maintain the culture of the organization, in this virtual environment. So I think kind of moving out of the pandemic and in many cases out of kind of the crisis mode that we've seen over the last 9 months, organizations will need to prioritize now. How do we build, the organization, for the future with the right skills and effectively support the business during this time?
Yeah, I agree. And with the employee experience, that's been a continual conversation. But I think, you're sort of getting at, there's maybe another, that conversation is going to continue to evolve, right? We've talked a lot in the past with employee experience around the moments that matter in the big sense of those moments, getting married, having a baby, moving to a new house. But I think in 2020, we've sort of been brought into people's everyday moments that matter, right? Where we've seen people's, kids on camera and pets on camera and the, phones are ringing. And so it's just, there's those everyday moments that matter for all of us every day, in maybe the smaller sense of the word. And I think that is something that we've had a new, visibility to this year, or a new appreciation for this year, that needs to kind of continue to be a part of the employee experience conversation going forward. So I think that'll definitely continue to be a priority and continue to evolve.
Good point. Well, I'm not surprised that, Stacy, you covered a lot of things around people and talent, and what's to come around people and talent, and Kelly, technology and experience, especially, and how we're experiencing those things. So I probably pulled together a number of items that are focused a little bit more on process and what I think we might see coming up in the environment of 2021 with process. I think we're going to see a lot more organizations. In fact, I'm going to say more than 50% of the things that we're going to do and help clients with will be around sorting out processes and roles. So, where is global process and how is that balanced with regional delivery, and, and what about local compliance, and how do all of those things come together in service delivery? I think we'll see, just a market shift, and I'm going to call more than half of the activities that we support clients with have a material role in that area or that space. And then maybe my second prediction is definitely going to be around where folks are headed with optimization, and that takes a deeper and deeper look at data quality, data management, as tools get stood up and SaaS becomes more and more a part of our everyday world and how people interact with technology. I think we're going to start to see that we need to focus on the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of bringing data into the same, the same purviews and being used. It's stunning to find organizations that get all these pieces pulled together, and there still isn't clarity around data ownership, or how you define and use bits of data, and all of that is really key to figuring out analytics and predictive types of things, right? Yeah, so those are two that I would call out from process. I don't know if you guys had any others, but those are a couple come to mind.
Yeah, no, I think that's, a great perspective as we, although we didn't really coordinate before this call, we've kind of all hit on different aspects around the people, process, and technology. I'd say just generally too, it seems like there's, just more momentum in the market right now over the last month or two. At least we're feeling it on our end of, things are getting busy. It seems like organizations are kind of ready to move into 2021, with a strong, position and ready to kind of move to how do we more quickly kind of get our future organization, defined and to modernize our technology. So it does feel like, there's just, kind of a good sense moving into 2021 that we're moving to the other side here.
Great. I think just to pick up on that, Kelly, if you didn't have anything else, before closing, I had a caution for 2021, and that is, that people are getting their sea legs on being virtual work, virtual workers are stabilizing, and so doing business as usual, and doing what you know how to do with people you know how to do it with, technologies is one thing, and we've certainly gotten past that hurdle in 2020, but as 2021 comes about, and we're adding new people to our teams or changing processes or transforming roles, that's another thing. It's easy. I think it will be easy for folks to feel confident about having gotten their Zoom legs, and gotten comfortable working, but then trying to affect teams worth of change in a virtual environment that isn't fully defined. I believe that organizations are going to struggle with that.
Yeah, and maybe even a little bit also, you got to factor in the return to work too. We're not going to be, it's going to be different philosophies and sort of a shift then, and maybe to a more of a hybrid model, and who does return and when do they return. And then, so you've got kind of that moving piece to it too. So that may add to your caution a bit too. So we'll have some new challenges, I think.
Yep. But I think awesome. We can all say we're looking forward to 2021, right?
Yeah,
and moving forward.
Amen. Yes. busier than ever, and looking forward to it. I can't wait till next year, and absolutely enjoy not only my two great colleagues, but all of you who tune in and listen to us. We just want more and more dialogue in 2021. Please go out and check out some of the things we did in 2020 and help us determine the agenda of things that you want to be talking about and listening to. In our LinkedIn site, you can start some participation and conversations there at Digital HR Connections in LinkedIn. Hope you all have a wonderful end of the year, and we'll see you bright and shiny in 2021.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.